Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your mowers have practically built themselves.
Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv. Welcome to today's show. Today I've got a really strange one for you. Well, as it goes, I was watching some YouTube videos while I'm working on my USS Guam. And I came across one that I remember some information about it years ago, but I had kind of forgotten. So I did some studying, and I thought this has got to be about the neatest thing that I've seen. It's just so unique. So what we're going to do today is, instead of getting on a bus and going out, or getting in the truck and going out to the middle of the Nevada desert, because, well, we really can't do that, we are going to virtually take a look at this item. And then we're going to show you the model that I built of this item. Now, to give you some, excuse me, some idea of where we want to go, it used to be called the Nevada Test Site. I believe it's now called the Nevada National Security Site. And it's where, from about 1951 on into the 90s, we used to explode atomic weapons out there, different atomic tests. For the first several years, there were many that were above ground, and by the 1960s, they had all moved below the ground. So you can get a tour that will take you out there. It leaves from the Atomic Museum in Las Vegas. But here's the problem with the tour. It's limited to 50 people. It is free. They only do it once a month. And when they put the link up to sign up for it, the link's up for about 30 minutes, and then they sell out the entire year, basically. So I really wanted to go, maybe this coming May. Come to find out, I don't have a prayer of being able to go until, well, much later this year. And then there's some rules, like you can't take cameras, you can't take recording devices, you can't take your phone, you got to wear long sleeve shirts and long sleeve pants. And I'm thinking, well, in the summertime, that'd be kind of out there. But anyway, so instead of that, we're going to virtually take you to this place and show you this just strange item sitting out in the middle of the desert. So stick with Mad Dog Merv as we look at, what in the heck is this thing?
Today's story starts with my uncle, Thomas Plant. My mom is there on the right side of him. Now, Tom was with the 1st Cavalry Division, and in January of 1945, they went to Lingayen Gulf, which is in the upper left-hand part of this particular map, and landed in the Philippines to retake the Philippines. He was part of that group. Supporting him and that group was, among many other ships, the USS Louisville. The Louisville, very similar to the Indianapolis, Salt Lake City, and all of those treaty cruisers. Well, on the 5th of January, 1945, you can see here a kamikaze just off-center to the right is headed in for an attack run and hits just below the bridge on turret number 2. And you can see the beginning of the explosion here, and it erupts into a huge fireball. Now, there's a great story about the pilot of this aircraft walking out on the wing and jumping off right before the plane crashes, but I'll let somebody else tell that story. So for what we're talking about today, here is a picture of the damage that was done to turret number 2. And you can see where it's dented in. You can see where the trajectory of the aircraft was. And this turret was going to need some repairs. So they took it back. They took the ship back to Mare Island on the west coast. They took this turret out and they put a replacement turret in. It just so happened that for just such an occasion, the U.S. Navy had a turret for each type of American cruiser there on the west coast, Mare Island, just in case something like this were to happen. And sure enough, they pulled the turret out, put the replacement turret in, which was of all welded construction, no rivets on it. And they took this turret out, they repaired it, and put it in the spares rack, waiting for, they needed another one again. Well, they didn't. Let's fast forward a few years to the 1950s, and there's atomic testing going on now at a place in Nevada, the Nevada Test Range, and it's about 60, 70 miles north of Las Vegas. One of the engineers had this great idea. Instead of building a block building for every test that they made to measure all of the effects and different things that they were testing, he got this bright idea, since he'd been in the Navy, to procure one of these old turrets from Mare Island, which he just happened to do. They hauled this turret to the test site, and right dead center in the middle of this picture, you can't quite see it yet, but here it is. They modified the turret. They made a concrete barbette, put it into place, painted it silver, and you can see here they put a special device on the front end of it that, for a long story short, will help measure the yield of the blasts. They used this for 3 different tests that were not very far away from this particular site. They were able to turn the turret and take their readings, take their measurements. But the turret had been cut down substantially, much shorter, and filled with electronic equipment that they needed for measuring their tests. And here's some great pictures of what the turret looked like in place at this, it's called Site 2 in the test range. And this is what it appears to be like today. I have to build a model of this. So, recently I built that USS Indianapolis, and the kit came with an extra turret. What am I going to do with this extra turret? Well, here's a great opportunity. So, as you can see, this is what I start out with. Take my razor saw, make some cuts, and reassemble to what I can kind of eyeball to be the right size for what I'm going to need. Now, I do have a bunch of photo etch. You guys know how much I love that stuff. And I'm going to do a bunch of little photo etch details on it. I'm just going to call it the device that's sticking off the front end. I use these 2 different sizes of plastic tube, cut them, rolled them, and you can see they're not quite perfect here in this picture. I'm going to have to do some adjustments, but it's coming along, and this is what we're going to use. I've got a little piece that I can glue on the end that kind of simulates what the real end of the device looks like. And here you go. Here's my version of it. You can see I've put a photo etch, a couple of doors on it. I made some hooks, these lifting hooks, just out of brass wire, and some little scrap odds and ends here and there. Okay, so for a base, remember this from the crafting, just this little dollar craft base that I got from when I was doing those pumpkins last year. I had a few left over. Took that, I went ahead and stained it with a nice dark brown stain. This is just some styrofoam that I had left over from my train layout, and it's already pre-painted. I cut it to shape and put it in place. The barbette actually is coming from my spares box, and this was from my USS Birmingham kit in 3/50th scale. And for this part where it's sunk down in, this is just the top of a Mr. Surfacer bottle, the plastic part. And I'm going to put the barbette inside of that. Going to use a couple of vehicles from this particular set. Remember, I got this set a couple of years ago, wondering what I was ever going to do with it. Well, here's a great opportunity. I'm going to use 3 of the vehicles from this set. Paint them, glue them in place. I actually put a couple of figures that are photo etch in 3/50th scale on here, painted them up, and just a few little odds and ends, and voila, here we go. Don't know that the Amtrak was exactly there or not, but I know they had military vehicles that kind of were scattered all over that they would use in the test sites for the different tests, and I just decided to paint A2 on it for Area 2. So don't know if it's accurate or not, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to do. The concrete base there for the turret. It's hard to see the barbette, but you can see the truck and the Jeep and the 2 little figures that are kind of hard to see. The end of the barrel and all of the little details that I've put on this. And well, it's not 100% accurate, I'll tell you that right now, but it kind of gets the point across of what is actually out there in the desert. So check out some of the other YouTube channels. Look up the turret for the USS Louisville, and there's some other channels that have some great content that talk about the story better than I could tell you in just these few minutes, and they do a much better job of explaining everything. But I hope you folks enjoyed this one. This is just too weird and too strange for me not to make a model of it. So thank you for joining me today, folks. I hope you learned something, and get out there and learn more. Have a great time, and we'll see you again soon.